Hi. Hello. I'm your host, Keith Arthur, and welcome to CareerExpo, What You've Always Wanted to Know, the podcast where each week I interview someone of a different career and industry. Ever wonder where homeless people can go for food? Ever wonder how low-income families can get help? And where does the food come from? This week, our guest has worked as a food pantry volunteer. She has 2 Jack Russell Terriers, she loves spicy food, and she is my mother. Please welcome to the podcast, Joan DiRienzo. Mom, how are you?
Oh, good.
Good?
I'm glad you're here. I'm glad I'm here.
We're actually in my hometown of Tampa Bay, Florida. We are at my mom's house right now. It's very hot out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we're doing a little bit of a video podcast, so you might be watching this or listening to it. If you want to watch, it will be on the World Wide Web to watch. So Mom,
Yes, Keith.
You have worked as a food pantry volunteer for a while now after you retired.
Correct.
And we're going to get into exactly what that is. But why don't you just start off by telling us where you grew up and how you grew up, and then what got you involved with working and volunteering at the food pantry.
Okay. Well, growing up, I was in New Jersey. Moved here when I was 28 to Tampa Bay. Worked for, up north I worked for New Jersey Bell, came down here, I worked for GTE, which turned into Verizon. I started volunteering after I retired at Verizon. I retired back in 2011.
That's the year I graduated college.
Yeah, I
from
remember.
USF.
I remember putting you through.
She did.
No,
She worked a lot of overtime.
He went on scholarships, really. But anyway, yeah, when every year in November, Verizon would offer us a retirement package. And I liked my job. I was not considering retiring.
Mm-hmm.
But that year, in 2011, when they sent the package out, I really didn't know what I had done with it because I wasn't considering retiring. But my supervisor came around, and she was just asking, she was at my pod, and she was just asking, did you all get your retirement packages? You got them whether you were eligible or not. But anyway, I remember saying, oh yeah, Karen, I got mine in the mail. I said, I'm not even sure what I did with it because I'm really not interested in retiring yet. And right after I said that, she walked away. I really felt I heard God say, and you didn't even pray about it. And I had not prayed about it. And I went home, I looked for my package, I found the package, and I'm thinking to myself, well, you know what? I didn't pray about it. I started praying about it, and 3 weeks from then, I was retired. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, God, if you asked me to retire, you must have a plan in place. So I was praying about it after I retired, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? I'll tell you this, be very honest, 20 years before, God had put on my heart doing pretty much what I'm going to actually tell you in this interview, what I am doing at that point. He had put it on my heart 20 years ago. And my kids were young, and I'm thinking to myself, why is God putting this on my heart? But anyway, I started volunteering at a thrift store thinking, well, I should be doing something. So I enjoyed that. And then the church I was going to I had just started going there. They had a little food pantry, and the guy that was running it, he started it in his home, moved it into the church, and he was on the podium, and he was asking for volunteers. And I'm thinking, I wonder if I should do that. But to make a long story short, I ended up starting to volunteer. A couple weeks later, I said to him, you know what, Dave, I heard you talking on the podium, you need volunteers. I said, I could probably do that. And I said, what kind of training? He says, just show up Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock. And that's when I said, and that was May of 2012, just a couple months after I retired. So that's when it started, May 2012.
Okay, so we got our Jersey girl, Joan,
Correct.
moves to Florida,
Right.
works at Verizon, and then
Right.
you retire.
And I retire from Verizon.
And then we do the thrift store, which eventually evolves into the food pantry.
Correct.
So can you tell us what exactly is a food pantry?
Well, a food pantry, which is different from a soup kitchen because we do not do any cooking. We do, at that point, because it was very small, people would come to us. We did Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we were there just from 10 to 1. It was low key at the time. In fact, we had one room on the second floor with one refrigerator, one freezer. That's how small it was. And we'd pack banana boxes up there with whatever we had in the freezer, the refrigerator, or our dry goods. And we'd have to carry them down 2 flights of stairs to give them to the person that was waiting down there that had come in, a low-income person or a homeless person, whoever walked in that day. And yeah, but it was low-key. We only had maybe about 30 families a week coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have the food pantry that's not a soup kitchen.
Correct.
You are not cooking anything, and you're
Correct.
having low-income families come to the food pantry.
Correct.
That are in need of food.
Correct.
For the family.
Correct. Correct.
And you're saying that the one you worked at the time was a fairly small one with one freezer and one fridge.
Right.
And
It
on the
was in a
second floor?
church, and the church was a smaller church to begin with.
Okay, got
Yeah.
it. So you've got the food pantry.
Correct.
And you said you don't cook the food.
No.
For the people.
No.
Then where does the food come from?
Okay, back at that time, being small, we were getting it from like 7-Eleven, smaller places that would volunteer, donate their food. We also dealt with, and actually it was the main donations that we were getting, because this is where our meats were coming from, and it was actually in Tampa Bay. We are Pinellas County, where we're talking from right now.
The most densely populated county in Florida.
Probably so. Probably so. But anyway, Feeding America had a hub, which was not far from where we were.
Feeding America.
Feeding America.
What is that?
That is where Feeding America is across the United States.
United States.
Now I believe it's called Feeding Tampa Bay.
Okay.
Okay. Which is out of Tampa itself now. They had a hub here at one time when we were years ago.
Are they like a national food pantry, sort of?
Yeah, it's
And they have a hub here.
at that time they're a hub here.
Got it. Okay.
But anyway, and that was out on 49th Street. Okay. So we would go there and we could get dry goods, we could get meat, bakery products.
And where is Feeding America getting the food from?
I'll get into that.
Oh.
Well, you know what? I'll get into that when we get into other questions.
Great.
I'm talking about low key right now, getting it off the ground.
Maybe I should clarify. So you're going to give me info about the food pantry at the time, which was smaller.
Correct.
And then it grew to a bigger thing, which is a whole other story.
Right, the whole other story.
Continue, Mother. Please.
Okay. So anyway, we went there Tuesday mornings. The guy in charge at the time, Dave, he went there early in the morning on Tuesdays and Thursdays, the days we were open, 10 to 11. So he went there, we got everything set up, and we were ready for people when they walked in a tent. We worked with whatever we had, which God always blessed it, and we always were able to provide. But those were the beginning days. And we only had Dave that was over it, Betty, and she would greet people, take down their information, because we kept track of.
And these are all volunteers?
All volunteers.
Nobody gets paid?
Nobody gets paid.
Great.
Yeah. And Tim. So there was 4 of us at the time. So sometimes, if Betty couldn't come, I'd fill in for her, but Tim was showing me the ropes because he had been there for a while. Not for a long while, but anyway, Yeah, so it was just 4 of us starting out.
Okay, so we have the small food pantry. This is
Correct.
Act 1 of this podcast because we're going to get into the big food pantry
Okay.
later.
Okay.
So we've got the small food pantry. We get
Right.
the food from Feeding America, which is
Right.
the hub in Tampa Bay. Why don't you tell us, I guess, so you started out as just a food pantry volunteer, right? That's just like a basic
Correct.
thing.
Correct.
What, I guess, would your daily day look like? What would you do specifically?
You mean back then?
Yes.
Okay, well, back then, I would be on the 2nd floor. I would be packing the boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Tim would be the one carrying them downstairs. Betty would be with the people.
Betty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Betty,
Mhm.
yeah. And Dave would be the one. I also picked up food on my way in from 7-Elevens or wherever other places we were getting, the smaller places. Dave picked up from Feeding Tampa Bay, the Pinellas location. I would pick up smaller locations. We had a couple 7-Elevens I'd pick up from. Yeah, wherever we could get food from.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so at the time, you're picking up from 7-Eleven and these other places.
Right.
How do those places get involved? How do you know where you can pick food from up that can be donated?
You walk in and you ask.
I just can walk into any Circle K
Well-
or Panera Bread or...
Yeah, I mean, I have that we are a 501c3 nonprofit.
Right.
I have the letter
Okay.
showing the validity of who I am
Okay.
representing. And, yeah, I met some really nice people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's transition into Act 2, where you tell us about how the food pantry grew to be large. Okay. All right, we're back. We had some technical difficulties. My camera overheated in the sun because we're in sunny Florida. You know, I don't know if I blame myself. I don't know what, but we're here. We're in the shade of my mom's carport. We're back. I think we left off. You know what? Maybe I'll put a little ad in, a little sponsorship ad in between that. We'll see how I edit this. Because we have great sponsors. Costa Plumbing, Ocean NYC. Okay, we're back. Mom, how are you?
Doing good.
We're doing good. Okay.
Okay.
We're back and we're hot. Mom,
Hot, yes.
it's really hot. So tell us, I think we left off around you where you're getting the food from.
Okay.
We're at your big, larger food pantry.
Okay.
And tell us how we get the food.
Okay. Well, you mean location-wise, or how we pick it up, or
Yes,
how
because
we
you
pick it
said
up?
that you had a van and then a refrigerated truck and all these things.
Okay.
How are you acquiring the food to the warehouse to get ready to give out to the low-income families and homeless people?
Okay. Well, we're using one of the vans to pick up the smaller locations, which I'm not sure if this was in already, like the Wawas and all that was all covered.
And you
Okay.
mentioned Pizza Hut under, what was it called, the donation?
Donation Connection was the
Connection.
name of the place that we would connect with, and they had corporations lined up that wanted to donate, and they were like the middle person between the corporations and the
Okay.
nonprofits that wanted to get the food.
So you have transportation vehicles to bring the food to the warehouse.
Right.
Tell me who and what types of people are coming to the warehouse to get food.
Okay. Nobody.
Oh, you're correcting me. No, I know what you're going to say. Because
Yes.
they don't come to the warehouse.
Right. We could not have it set up like that. We were one warehouse within many warehouses, and we were not allowed to have people come there. That was not how that... This all turned around into a different way of doing things once we got our warehouse.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we transport the food to the warehouse. We process it, as you mentioned, which is getting it in smaller bags to distribute.
Correct.
Where are you going to distribute this food?
Okay. Well, let me first
Yes,
go back. Let me
please.
back up first.
Yes.
Okay.
Take the
When-
reins, Ma.
Okay. When we had the van, that was fine. When we got connected now, I was talking about when Feeding America was a small hub. They had a hub in Pinellas. Well, that hub closed up. Now the main headquarters is Tampa.
Oh.
So for us to get food now, and for anyone in this Tampa Bay area, I mean, we were literally, even though we were in Pinellas, we really didn't have to travel as far as a lot of other counties. I think maybe 5 counties. So we would go there, but we could only go there, and we would like shop in their shopping place.
Yeah.
And certain foods you got for free, certain foods we'd have to pay for, like the meats were so much a pound in the banana boxes. Bakery was free. Dry goods we paid for, so much a pound. So we were paying for some very, very minimal, and some we were actually getting for free. But the thing is, we could not transport meat unless we had a refrigerated truck.
Oh.
So for nonprofits that could not afford refrigerated trucks, that was like a downfall. Because in order to get refrigerated items, you needed a refrigerated freezer truck, because we're picking up frozen meats, and we need to get them into a freezer box truck.
Right.
So yeah, so that's when everything picked up for us and accelerated once we got a refrigerated truck.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway,
Game changer.
It was a game changer. The second game changer was not, and this is after maybe a few years of going there. Tampa Bay Feeding America would come out, and they would actually come to our warehouse. They wanted to see what we were doing, that we were up to standards, that we, at that point I was the one that was overseeing it, so I had to have, their specifications of licensing and everything to do that. So, and once they saw everything, we were eligible to get retail stores. So we were eligible for Walmarts, Targets.
This is what I'm familiar with.
Yeah, Publix.
Right.
So when they opened up in our area, and some, like we got some new stores and everything, we started picking up from those stores.
Okay.
And our drivers started very early in the morning making these pickups, because they would load an entire 18-foot box truck, packed,
Right.
come to the warehouse, us unload it, they go back out. We had a lot of volunteers, we had a lot of processing to do. Yeah, but people did not come there.
Okay. So now we're in the big leagues. We're picking up from We're picking up from Walmart, Publix, Target.
Right.
Tell me who, after where you go, tell me who is acquiring this food that's in need.
Okay. During the week, we distributed, on the days we did our pickups, we would put food away for Saturday distribution.
Okay.
Okay. And that was through the Florida Dream Center Adopt-A-Block program that would come pack up a couple hundred boxes of banana boxes to be distributed on Saturdays to low-income areas in Pinellas. Their target at that time was Lealman. I know they are up in Tarpon Springs
Lealman
now.
is an area of St. Pete.
Right, it's
Okay.
Lealman. And where they targeted were low-income places that didn't have grocery stores.
Oh.
It's not that, people could just go, right now I live in an area, there's a Publix down the street, there's a Sweet Bay, there's Walmart.
And
There's
Arby's.
nothing. There's nothing in these, I think they used to call them food desert areas, where
interesting.
unless there's a convenience store, there's nowhere to get food. So those are areas they targeted to distribute to.
So what types of people have you met in doing this?
Are you talking about the people, the volunteers?
Oh, like, no, the people that are in need of the food.
Okay.
Like
Well,
families or homeless people.
the whole thing. The whole thing.
Everybody.
The whole thing.
Okay.
Yes. But like during the week, I did not work the Saturday Adopt a Block program. I was there Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays during the week.
Uh-huh.
I worked the warehouse. And during those days, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, our big pickup days, we would distribute to low-income locations such as low-income senior facilities,
Okay.
low-income mobile home parks. We would bring the food out, and I was connected with management at these locations.
Mm-hmm.
So we would unload the food. Management would oversee the distribution of the food at that location to make sure it was being distributed properly
Mm-hmm.
to the people that lived there. And there were times that Feeding America would come on at these locations with
Mm-hmm.
us because they wanted to see exactly how we were doing things. So, yeah.
How does an average family in need or a homeless person, if they're not connected to one of these sort of, main centers that you know about, how would somebody know to go get free food?
Locations to go, you mean?
Yeah, like if I'm just a homeless person on the street, how do I know where to go to get free food?
Well, I mean, I think like there's main shelters around, like St.
Okay.
Vincent de Paul, Suncoast Haven of Rest, which I can't say enough good about. All these locations. I'm not really sure how they would get,
Yeah.
but I'm sure the word gets out where these locations are. We have one in Pinellas County. We call it Tent City. It's
Okay.
called Pinellas Hope. And
This is a shelter?
this is more than a shelter.
Okay.
They house, and I'm going back years, I'm sure it's even expanded more. They have tents for homeless people.
Mm-hmm.
Then they had, you could move up into a small, like, little studio place
Okay.
that they had built where, people go there, they can work their way, which I've seen. I know somebody that worked his way out of jail into this place, got a job, worked himself, got his own mobile home. Once he got his license back, started his own business. I mean, I can see real good things happen for people that want it to happen for them. I know people that are homeless, they don't want to be under any restricted guidelines of any of these places. I know people like that too.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, I think there's help out there. I'm talking back then. Now, we've got so many homeless because we're living in an unaffordable area
Mm-hmm.
where a lot of people are going homeless
Yeah.
that never expected it in their lives, I'm sure.
So, I guess, do you think that's one of the main reasons why people become homeless is because of the economy right now? Like, we can't afford it because rents are so high?
Well, I think that could be a big part of it. I don't think it was a big part of it back then.
Mm-hmm.
I think people because, I mean, I used to sit with homeless people, Suncoast Haven of Rest. I would go there with my husband, and we had dinner they served, and we got to sit with homeless people, talk to them, hear their stories,
Mm-hmm.
of life and everything. And even at Tent City, we used to go there once a month. We played bingo. We put on bingo for the homeless, and we'd sit there and we'd play and hear their stories too. And some people just fell on hard times, and
Yeah.
some of it is, some of them were a lot of Vietnam vets, a lot of vets,
A lot of veterans.
that were struggling, yeah.
Why veterans?
Well, I think some deal with PTSD too, that just
Okay.
struggle in life. And I don't know. Everybody's got their own story. Everybody has a story.
Right.
We have stories, Everybody's got a background,
Yeah.
And you'd be amazed how really some of these that fell on hard times are very smart people.
Mm-hmm.
Very smart people. Some of it had to do with alcohol and, just a lot of sad stories. A lot of sad stories.
So you said that you saw somebody come out of being homeless and then they got a job and then they got their own house, mobile home. What other types of success stories have you seen? Like, how does it work? How can someone kind of come out of being homeless?
I think
it's not hard. It's not easy, I'm sure. That's what I'm trying to say.
It isn't, because this one fellow I'm talking about, Ronnie, he worked hard to get out of homelessness.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because he wasn't just homeless, he had been in jail, and he got out, and actually that's where I connected with Ronnie, because not only was he at a homeless shelter, he had also, my husband was a chaplain, and he had been one of my husband's inmates in jail. In fact, Ronnie came to do work at our house. He put the back fence in the yard.
He did put the back fence in.
Yeah,
Let's clear that up really quick. So you said he was one of Dad's inmates. So my dad would go on Friday nights.
Correct.
To where, and what would he do?
Pinellas County Jail.
Pinellas County Jail.
Right.
And do what?
And he would preach his sermons.
He would preach sermons to the inmates in jail. So
correct.
Just to clear that up, when we say it was one of my dad's inmates, it was one of the guys that he would preach to on Friday nights at the jail.
Right.
And also, wasn't the jail across the street from the original Pantry?
Right.
Wow, yeah. It's all full circle.
Yeah.
Okay, Mom. So let's see. I'm going to see if we have a question. We have some questions from... Yes, tell me more.
Okay. Another thing is the growth of the food pantry.
Uh-huh.
Okay. We started with one warehouse. Okay. That grew to the point where we needed another warehouse. We broke down the wall to the next warehouse. That warehouse didn't have enough room. We broke down the wall. After the other people that were renting the third warehouse left, we broke down the wall to we had 3 connecting warehouses. Yeah.
Wow.
So, at that point, when I had left, which was 2019, we had gone to 3 warehouses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's a question from a listener. When you're distributing food to people and you're at these locations,
yes,
have you ever felt unsafe in a certain area or situation?
I can't say that I have, because I was during the week distributing to mobile home parks and senior facilities, but on Saturdays when they were face to face with people, they may have. I've never had to encounter it myself, but I'm sure they probably had situations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's take a pause really quick. Hold on. I'm just going to check to make sure we didn't do this again. It's looking good, guys. Okay. We're back. Here is a next question from a listener is, what can the average person do to help the homeless?
Well, maybe actually get to know them. Actually.
What do I just go up and say, hey, let's hang out?
No, I would say probably in the different areas. In our area here, we have several places that you can volunteer. And actually, this is years ago, I would actually, in fact, you were young at the time.
Okay.
2 nights a week on my way home from work, I left Verizon. I would stop at the Haven of Rest, which was a smaller location at that time, and I would work their kitchen. I would work the kitchen, but I got to meet the homeless people coming through.
Okay,
too.
Let's take it 2 steps back for the average listener who doesn't have time to do this. What else can they do? Can they donate? Can they donate food or clothes or money? What types of things
yeah.
do people need?
Well,
I'm just speaking for people that have busy lives. They want to help, but they don't have time, like a sweet angel like you, Mom.
I shouldn't have. Okay. Well, you want to know what? Yes. They're always in need.
Okay.
I mean, these shelters, these soup kitchens, they're always in need of finances.
So they can donate money.
They can donate money.
Great.
Yeah.
What else can they donate?
Well, you can donate clothing in the winter. Socks are a big need.
Socks. This is the thing, and I asked you this a while ago. I said, what is the most common thing requested by homeless people? And you said socks.
Socks, toiletries, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Toothbrush, toothpaste.
Yeah,
okay.
that kind of stuff.
Great.
On a ongoing basis. Blankets, and if anybody ever wants to run with this, I found out years ago we were bringing blankets to Tent City where they have hundreds of people, and our church had a quota we wanted to meet. So then I wanted to help meet that quota. I took a day off of work and I went up and down the beaches to hotels asking for donations.
Oh.
And I literally hit the jackpot at the Holiday Inn.
At the Holiday Inn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got a lot of donations.
So we can also harass businesses to donate. That's what we can do.
Well, yeah, they had blankets that they were looking for a place. It was just I was there at the right time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Blah 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 blah. Okay, I guess. Oh, this is the question. Yes, so you mentioned you go to these areas to distribute the food to people who need it.
Correct.
How much food per week do you think you distribute?
Well, let's put it this way. When I left back in 2019, we were probably up to between 100 and 125,000 pounds a month.
100 to 125,000 pounds a month.
A month.
Distributing food.
Correct.
To people in need.
Right.
Now, was all of this food that would have been thrown out by said Panera Bread, Starbucks, Publix that, it might have expired that day, or what do you think?
Close to expiration.
Yeah.
Because we would get it, we'd freeze stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the meats went right into a freezer. We got meats, they went right into a freezer.
Because, I watched Tiger King, the documentary, and a lot of the meat that they would get to feed the tigers was leftover meat from Walmart that was going to expire.
Well, sometimes we got stuff that we were not able to distribute.
So there's regulations of what you can.
And actually, the stuff we picked up on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it really worked out well, because some of the stuff was at expiration, close to expiration. So some of the stuff needed to get out that day.
Okay.
Some of the stuff could wait till Saturday till they brought the food out. So we had to process it that way. Stuff that could last till Saturday, fine. Stuff that needs to get distributed now goes.
Got it.
Then there was stuff that was not a lot of, produce.
Mm-hmm.
That really couldn't go
Right.
Saturday or today. It was just, we had a farm that came to pick up from us. We wasted nothing.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to wrap up soon. A few more questions.
Okay.
What is a fun story that you might have that you can tell us? Something that was exciting. I know I've been to the warehouse with you and kind of seen it. Any fun or silly stories? Off the top of your head while distributing food?
I don't know.
And I caught her off guard.
I did. Well, you know what? I will tell you one thing.
Tell me.
Okay. Maybe this is not fun or whatever.
It's a story.
It's a story.
Yeah.
That at that warehouse.
The big one?
The big one.
Yeah.
The one that we had 3. The one thing we did is we kept God first.
Okay.
And every Thursday morning, 10 o'clock, no matter what was going on, processing whatever, we all sat down and we all had a Bible study every Thursday morning at 10 o'clock.
Were the Bibles donated?
What do you mean? No. No.
They were your Bibles.
These were our Bibles.
Good.
Yeah.
Just checking.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the fun in it all is the volunteers themselves. I cannot say enough good about the people that we volunteered with.
Betty.
No. I mean, that was 4.
Not
when
Betty.
I left, we were in the 30s with volunteers.
30 volunteers.
At least.
Okay.
And that's not even counting Saturdays.
Okay.
This was just during the weeks. I mean, not every single day we had the same volunteers, but we had a lot of volunteers. We had volunteers that, because you didn't ask me a lot of times where our volunteers came from. You want some water?
Mom, where did the volunteers come from? Oh my goodness.
We got volunteers from the church, people in the community that heard about us that wanted to give back their time, knowing what we're doing. They wanted to be involved. We also got volunteers of people that were doing community service for being in jail that had to do community service in the area. We got
can a high school student that meets?
Yes.
Okay.
High school students for their hours for their college. Yeah, they could.
Okay, this is good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Let's see, Mother.
Yes.
We are wrapping up this lovely podcast.
Okay.
What are your goals?
Yes.
For this coming year?
Yes.
Personally, professionally, volunteering, helping people. What do you want to accomplish this year? What's a goal you have in mind? Maybe something with the house. Maybe going to see your son on a gig he might book. I don't know.
Well, that would be a nice
if
goal.
I book
Yeah.
a gig I want. Okay,
Yeah.
tell me. Hey, sorry.
Okay.
What are your goals for this year?
Well, my goals are to move forward with what I do. I mean, even though I am no longer, my time at that food pantry went from May of 2012 to May of 2019. Okay, perfect 7 years. But I think volunteering in itself, I am just open to the opportunities God's putting before me. Because when I left the food pantry in May of 2019, I'll tell you, this was a graceful transition because I know God was changing my heart that I was going to be transitioning out because I was the one that was in charge of the food pantry. And this other lady, Melody, she was the perfect person, she was volunteering to take over. And it was a graceful transition, but I did not know that was changing my heart because, as Keith knows, his dad, my husband, got sick. And it took full-time care to take care of him. But, so at that point, I wasn't volunteering in that time frame from when I left to when he passed in September 2021. In October 2021, I was at church, and they were talking about, they had a group of people called Canines for Christ on the podium talking about how you can use your dogs to go into nursing homes, hospitals, different places. This is a plug for Canines also, because it's a great ministry.
Shameless self-promotion.
So anyway, my thing is, our 2 Jack Russells were wonderful for my husband during his sickness. And I'm thinking I could do this. So that's what I started in for Canines for Christ. I took my dog to a local assisted living facility where my mother had been, a really nice place locally. I started there. Then they asked me if I maybe could help out with their bingo. and I loved it. And then I started doing Bible study there.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that. And you know what? I am just open to whatever God has. You know, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So that's the goal for this year, is to be open.
To be open, to be
And
available.
To be available.
To be usable.
To be usable.
Yeah.
For more canines for Christ.
Canine, or whatever the Lord opens up.
Whatever
the Lord opens up. Yes.
Mom,
Yeah.
what a wild podcast this has been. Okay, so where can people find more information on food pantries, homeless food shelters, anything they need to help, to donate? Maybe they know somebody who's in need and they want to direct them. Where can they go? A website, maybe?
I would just Google homeless shelters, food pantries nearby.
Okay.
And see, in your area, because I know this is just not Tampa Bay that we're reaching out to.
This is New York City.
Milan,
Paris, France.
Yeah.
London.
So, yeah. They're all over. We have several in the Tampa Bay area. Several good ones. That if people want to donate, check out. Actually, with the Florida Dream Center, the pastor at that time when I was there, he wanted people to have an eye opener of homelessness.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times you wonder, where do these homeless people go?
Right.
You know, so what he would do, he had a van, and on Saturdays, he would take people in that van, because I went one time just to see what was going on, and we would go under a bridge, walk down the railroad tracks, and he would take us into homeless camps just to show us what a home. But I have to tell you, even though I was with this group of people, because I have a bad leg, I couldn't go down to the camp because I would have fallen down the little ravine. But down there, they came back and, you know, they were telling us there's like baby clothes, baby toys,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And right now, I know two people that I think I was sharing with Keith, somebody I know that has a husband, wife, and the baby living in their walk-in closet.
Yeah.
That, better than being on the street, right?
Right.
He doesn't have room, but he's letting them live in this walk-in closet. And then somebody else that I know was having a lady clean his house, never knew this. He walked her out to bring her stuff to the car, and he saw this car was packed, and he asked, "What's all this stuff you got in the car?" He had no idea his cleaning lady was homeless with 2 kids.
Oh.
Yeah. So temporarily, he took her in with the 2 kids, and he's got an entire room because he's got grandkids
Mm-hmm.
with all the toys for that age,
Mm-hmm.
and he's trying to locate her a place, a shelter for women and
You never
kids.
know. People are always in need.
Yeah. Well, you want to know what? It's just like people are just. I have a friend, you know her, my girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she used to be able to afford being on her own. She can't. She's got a, you know, she's with a room right now. What used to pay for an apartment is now only paying for a room.
You're a good gal pal because you brought her something she needed yesterday. We dropped it off at the place.
Yeah.
Anything last you want to say, Mom? Any last words for the listeners?
Yes.
Okay.
The joy of volunteering. The joy of volunteering, yes. If you're looking for maybe people like-minded like you, whether it's the food pantry, the thrifts, wherever I've been volunteering, I've had really nice connections, great people, like-minded, and not just people that you volunteer with. You get to know these people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we were there for each other, whether we were volunteering or they in the hospital, whatever people were going through, we were just there for each other all the time. Volunteering is a great joy. It's a great connection, great friendships. Yeah, and there's really great blessings coming out of it. Even if you can only give an hour of your time,
Mm-hmm.
you know, there's just a lot of nonprofits out there. They're banking on volunteers. They can't pay. They don't have the money to pay. So, yeah, get the joy of volunteering.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on the podcast,
Yeah,
Mom.
thanks for having me.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for listening and watching, folks. I'm your host, Keith Arthur, and this has been Career Expo, what you've always wanted to know. We'll see you next week for a new industry and a new career. Bye-bye.